Hi guys, so you're learning about classifying quadrilaterals, and the best way that I can think of to teach you this is by kind of using this chart. So we start up here at the top, we have quadrilaterals, which are all shapes with exactly 4 sides. So if it has 4 sides, it is a quadrilateral. Then you break it down into 2 more categories. You have parallelograms, which are shapes with 2 pairs of parallel sides, and you have trapezoids. Trapezoids are shapes with only 1 pair of parallel sides. So you see 2 pairs here, like a pair of shoes. There's 2 shoes in a pair, so you have 2 lines in a pair, okay? So you have your first pair and your second pair, whereas if we look at the trapezoid, there's only 1 pair. Remember? And parallel means that they will never cross. So these lines right here are not parallel. They're perpendicular because they eventually will cross, whereas these are parallel. If they went on forever, they would never cross. So then the trapezoid section is just on its own. There's nothing else underneath trapezoid. When we go back to parallelogram, parallelograms can be split into 2 more categories, rhombus and rectangle. A rhombus is a shape. It is a parallelogram that has 4 equal sides. And these little lines right here mean that these sides are the same. Okay, so say this is 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches, okay? Then you have a rectangle. A rectangle is a shape that has 4 90-degree angles, 4 right angles, and opposite sides are equal, okay? So that's your rectangle. Then there's this special shape that is all the way down here, and it's a square. A square is both a rhombus and a rectangle because a square, all sides are equal, like our rhombus. All angles are 90 degrees, like our rectangle, okay? So you're going to see some questions that are pretty tricky about quadrilaterals, and some of them might look like this. So we have a true or false question. A square is always a parallelogram, true or false. So when you think about this picture, I want you to think, if I'm going down it, okay, it is sometimes. So a parallelogram is sometimes a rhombus. It is sometimes a rectangle because I went from parallelogram to rhombus, okay? Parallelogram to rectangle, right? When I go up this, okay, up this hierarchy, that's what this is called, it is always, so a square is always a parallelogram, okay? So see how I went up, square, to parallelogram. I went up, okay? Now, if I go back to my question, a square is always a parallelogram. A square is always a parallelogram. If we want to talk about the definition, a square is always a parallelogram because a square has 2 pairs of parallel sides, okay? We can see that one is right here, one is right here and one is right here, okay? And then our second pair we have right here and right here, okay? So a square is always a parallelogram. So in this case, our answer is true, okay? Now, a rectangle is sometimes a trapezoid. When we have this, remember, if I'm going down, it's sometimes. If I'm going up, it's always. And if I go side to side, it is never, okay? So I'm looking at rectangle to trapezoid, okay? So I'm following my arrows. I'm going rectangle to trapezoid. So see how there's no arrow that connects it? That means that it's never, okay? A rectangle is never a trapezoid. A rectangle always has 2 pairs of parallel sides. That's why it's underneath parallelogram. So a rectangle is never a trapezoid. So in this case, because it says sometimes and not never, our answer is false, okay? A rhombus is always a square, okay? A rhombus is always a square. So we find rhombus, we're going down to square. Remember what I said before, if I'm looking at my chart, if I am going down my chart, it is sometimes. If I'm going up my chart, it is always. If I ever go side to side, it is never, okay? So this is saying a rhombus is always a square. Well, we can see from our picture that that's not true. This is what a rhombus looks like. A rhombus is a shape with 4 equal sides. Well, a square is a shape with 4 equal sides, okay? So because I'm going from rhombus to square, my answer is sometimes, not always, so this one is also false, okay? So just think about this. If I give you 2 shapes, okay, and I want you to think about the definition, I also want you to think about this chart to help you, okay? If I'm going down this chart, it is sometimes. If I'm going up this chart, it is always. And if I ever go side to side, it is never. So a rhombus is never a rectangle, okay? A rhombus is never a rectangle. And we can see with our definitions, opposite sides are equal. These 2 sides are equal, these 2 sides are equal, but to be a rhombus, you have to have 4 equal sides, okay? So that's why those are never, okay? A square is always a parallelogram. It is always a rhombus. It is always a rectangle. It is always a quadrilateral, okay? It is never a trapezoid, all right? Now, if we talk about parallelograms, a parallelogram is sometimes a rhombus. It is sometimes a rectangle. It is sometimes a square, okay? It is always a quadrilateral. It is never a trapezoid, okay? If we talk about trapezoids, trapezoids are always quadrilaterals. They have 4 sides. They are never parallelograms because we only have 1 pair, okay? Hope this helps. Good luck.